Kia ora, I'm Ray O'Brien, and this is the third of the little short intro videos for the data package we've given to you and some of the questions we've asked that will need you to integrate a whole load of different disciplines to make sense of some sustainability problems. I'm here in the quad next to the Big Bell. If you don't know about the Big Bell, it's from the original university building in 1869. Which was in a totally different place from this, but now the tradition is that when you hand in your PhD with a great sigh of relief, you go get a rubber mallet and you celebrate, and everybody gets around for great photographs and celebrations that you've submitted, you've created some new knowledge, you've done your first big, perhaps your first big research project, and you whack that bell in celebration. Right now there's a couple of people sat there just ready to for their friends to gather and celebrate that moment. And that moment is quite often the start and quite a special journey, perhaps into being an academic. But really importantly, it's about the new knowledge you've created getting out to the world to make a difference. That is why we're here as a university, is to create new skills, create new knowledge, get it out and create a more thriving future. However, quite often that means we're flying overseas to recruit international students so that we can be a truly international place of thinking. It could also be that you're flying off to international conferences to share your knowledge or to collect data for your new research. There's a lot of reasons why the university can justify and be comfortable with flying, but we have a massive carbon footprint from business air travel. In 2019, which is our baseline year, we had over 12,500 tonnes of CO2 just for that air travel. We've managed to reduce that significantly. Last year I think we were 45% below that initial baseline, which is great, that's to celebrate. It's been a lot of people changing their practice, a lot of people thinking differently about how they share their research. It's been operational things like changing policy to make it easier to take less flights. It's been financial things in that we've had less money to spend on air travel, so less air travel has happened. And things like right now we have really expensive air travel because of the conflict in the Gulf, and therefore that money, that same budget buys less kilometres and therefore produces less emissions. What we're looking at now is how do you take that data and figure out, is there other things that we're missing, things that we could be doing? Because what it really boils down to is that the university has a role in law to be the critic and conscience of society, which is a kind of weird phrase, but it makes sense. We are applying academic rigorous critique to what happens elsewhere to try and figure out if there's better ways to do it. But if we're not applying that same critique to us, then we're to some extent in a glass house throwing stones. It's really important that whatever the footprint of our research is, we can reconcile that with the fact that we're also doing research talking about how those emissions and what climate change will cause for us as a society. On one hand, there's the need to get out and share the research, recruit the international students to be international, to create a thriving future through new knowledge. And on the other hand, we've got an activity that actually has an impact on climate change that threatens that same thriving future. There's a whole load of stuff in there for you to think about. I'll leave it there. Ka kite anō.